The Secrets of Stargate is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give.
You're listening to The Secrets of Stargate, Episode 71.
Janet West, Jackson has identified the seventh symbol.
All right, here we go. We are about to try to make a connection.
All we gotta do is bust out of here, commandeer the ship, and fly on home.
Indeed. You say that a lot.
I know that this could be dangerous. But this is our job, right? It's what we signed on to do.
It was never about going home. It's about getting us to where we're going.
Hello and welcome to The Secrets of Stargate, where we talk about the hidden meanings and deeper layers found in the Stargate movies and series, including SG-1, Atlantis, Universe, and more. I'm Father Cory Sticha. With me today are Lisa Jones and Victor Lambs. Howdy, Lisa.
Hey, Father Cory.
Howdy, Victor.
Howdy do, Father Cory.
Before we begin, you can get your t-shirts, mugs, stickers, and much more for The Secrets of Stargate and all our great shows at sqpn.com/merch. That's sqpn.com/merch. And I'd also like to invite you to join our Discord server. We're having a lot of fun over there, a lot of good discussions, and you can join in discussing all our shows. Get your invite at sqpn.com/discord. All are invited to join, even if you're not a Patreon patron. So today we're discussing Watergate, the 7th episode from the 4th season of Stargate SG-1. So on June 17th, 1972, there was a break-in at the DNC offices at the Watergate office. Oh, wait. Wrong Watergate. Let's try that again. Let's reverse that back. Yes, I had to do that joke. SG-1 is trying to go on a mission, but the seventh chevron went lock. Turns out the Russians found the gate from Egypt and have figured out how to activate it with the matching DHD. Problem is, now it won't shut off, and the Russians have to admit they've got the gate. SG-1 is sent to Russia to meet Counselor Troy in order to figure out what happened. They arrive at the complex to find everyone dead due to a firefight, and the gate dialed to a world where the water produces enough energy to keep the gate running. Dr. Markov, Carter, and Jackson are able to shut down the gate, but get trapped by the water. Jack and Tilk find a frozen, traitorous Mayborn who is infected by the life forms in the water. Tilk is then infected in order for the life forms to dial home, and the 3 hostages are returned. The end. So here we have our big disclosure. Mayborn was the traitor. Not a surprise. But so what do you think of this one, Lisa?
Oh, I don't want to go first this time.
Ladies first, you got to have honor.
I remember this episode very fondly, though I will say watching it back, I was a little, I guess because I already knew all the spoilers, it just kind of fell flat to me. A lot of reveal or scientific stuff that kind of moves the series along. But as far as action and interest and intrigue, besides the frozen Mayborn, I don't know. It just okay.
It's a there episode, huh?
Yeah.
How about you, Victor?
I actually really like this episode. I don't know if I'd say it's one of my top 5, but it's probably in my top 20. This is just a couple years after GoldenEye, so Russian bases were like really cool, and so we have a lot of things a lot of really cool things that happen kind of one after another. It's, the Russians have a Stargate, the Russians have a secret base with a Stargate. They were doing experiments on something that they found through the Stargate and it went horribly wrong. The water's alive, Mayborn's in the freezer, Mayborn's dead, but no, he's not. He comes back to life, and then the thing with the submarine too. So I really like this. It's a very enjoyable episode written by Robert C. Cooper. So you have the thing that he does in his episodes where, there's kind of a branching, the A team and the B team are doing things, but they discover the secret of the episode at more or less the same time, but from 2 different angles. Jack and Teal'c discover it because, they find the frozen Mayborn. Carter, Dr. Svetlana Markov, and Daniel find it because they're in the submarine that's crushed, but they don't drown. So I really like it. And then I think they could have done like a little bit at the end where, they look for Mayborn and he's gone, but of course he's gone. He's not going to stick around. And then wait for the other shoe to drop. So
yeah, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. So I like the intrigue, the location, you get him jumping out of a plane kind of probably, maybe.
Or standing on a tarmac with the wind blowing at them and they jump onto a cushion. Oh wait, I mean, yeah, they were absolutely in the air when it happened.
Yeah, we're a ways from Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible and his Halo jump in that movie, but so we get some funny moments. Daniel gets to be Mr. Acerbic, dry wit.
Yep.
Teal'c gets to not want to jump out of a plane, and Sam gets to do the science thing. So it's all good, and we get a very special guest star as well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed this. I didn't remember this one when I watched it. I didn't remember it, but I remember that Marina Sirtis was on Stargate at one point. I remember that she did guest star. I just couldn't remember the episode she was in. And that's part of the reason why I like that, because she was at her most acerbic. She was just kind of more, really didn't have a sense of humor, but it was, that kind of, yeah, I'm just going to tell you to you straight. And if you annoy me, I'll let you know you've annoyed me kind of person, not, and so I liked her character in this, where it was, but she still had emotion, the point where she, was realizing that everyone she's worked with is dead and stuff like that, where she shed, a couple of tears before she went back to her usual glaring at Jackson for saying something stupid. Daniel said something stupid and she just glares at him sometimes, No, I enjoy this one. It's kind of the same reason that Victor mentioned. It's probably one of the better, let's advance the major plot line of the series episodes out there. Because we talked about some before that there's nothing going on. The whole purpose of the episode is to advance the plot line. And this does a better job because there is a little bit of action. There is a little bit of, not so much are they going to survive, but how are they going to survive? Because, of course, we know, the lead team is going to survive one way or the other. But no, I enjoy this one. Yeah, and, of course, this is where the Russians start getting involved in the Stargate project, too. So
we do have to talk about her accent, though.
Oh, yeah.
Your Russian accent. What happened at the base?
Yeah.
It's not quite that bad, but
I think yours was better.
No, there's no way that was better.
It was not a good Russian accent, but then again, no one hired her to be a fake Russian usually anyways, so.
Yeah. No, but very, very good guest appearance. And getting to do things she didn't get to do on Next Generation for sure. Which
was what, act?
Yeah, act and have emotions. And
no, the problem was she had too many emotions sometimes at TNG.
Oh yeah.
She had everybody else's emotions.
Yeah.
No. One thing to talk about is we're playing shuffling Stargates here.
Yeah.
Because of course we start out with the Egypt Stargate from Giza. That's what it was in SGC.
Mm-hmm.
That gets put on Thor's ship and crashed. But fortunately, they found the Antarctica Gate, and that gets put into SGC after being used by Mayborn and company. And then now the Russians have the Egypt Gate with the DHD that they couldn't find at Egypt because the Russians already had it.
Because the Nazis had it.
The Nazis had it with the gate
from them. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're playing shuffling Stargates here, Find the Stargate, find the Stargate. Which one is it? Which one? No.
And it's pretty cool how they set that up with the DHD too, that the DHD would have priority over the SGC's cobbled together dialing computer. And so the Russians had to time their missions with the SGC's missions so as not to alert them that they had a second Stargate. And we find out very early on that Dr. Markov knows pretty much everything about the SGC, knows all about their missions, tries to rub Jack's face. And, after we lost one of our Foxtrot submarines and Jack's like, I don't know anything about that. And then at the end, end where they don't have room for him on the submarine. And he says something like, "Oh, pity, I've never been on a submarine."
Yeah. Because she just glares.
Yeah. And so she's very smart about the Stargate, but she's also read all of Sam's files.
Mm-hmm.
we learned something about the Stargate too, with the water's not just pouring into the, doesn't just come pouring through the Stargate, and that's because the gate has a built-in control mechanism that things have to be a certain mass or moving at a certain speed or something for the gate to interpret it as something to let through.
Travel.
Poor Carter.
So
she was so excited to oh, I have this theory and let me tell you all about it. Mark, I was like, no, I read your paper.
I read, yeah. Where do you think I got that from? Yeah, that was pretty. It was interesting. Of course, we find out the reason why she knows all this stuff is because of Mayborn. Which I love that he Jack opens the door and there's Mayborn standing completely frozen. Right. It's just such a great scene.
Mayborn
and Jack's just like, Jack and Tilk are both like, what happened here?
Yeah. But they thaw him out and he's fine.
Yeah. Because of the water.
That works.
Yep.
So my question is, Mayborn, so we haven't seen him in a while, but he still has incredible access to everything about the SGC, down to the minute when teams are leaving and arriving.
So does he have somebody on the inside still?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very well connected. I think there's probably like a senator or a colonel or something.
Maybe it's Major Davis.
Yeah. Oh, and there were a callback to that. In our Other Side episode, I noticed that Walter Harriman was wearing a name badge that said Davis on it. And in this episode, the captions, at one point he's off screen and said something, and the captions even referred to him as Davis.
Yep, I saw that too.
So I didn't know if at this point they were still, he was going to be Davis or something.
Yeah.
Or
somebody messed up or
Did he not have a name and they named him Davis unofficially, and then at some point they finally gave him a name? I don't know.
Well, the funny part is I don't think we ever found out his first name until they did the interview episode that it was Walter. Because we knew it was the last name was Harriman.
That's season 7, yeah.
Well,
but I don't think we ever knew his first name.
No, in 2010, the episode 2010, when they go,
which is not that far away, actually.
Yeah,
so,
Jack says Walter because he didn't know his name. Remember? So I think that might have been the first time we heard his name. Maybe I don't know.
Because he had the name tag with Harriman, and then of course that gets settled. But I guess the story with the Davis name tag was that his name tag wasn't. They couldn't find it when they were getting ready to shoot, and so they just used the Davis name tag or the Davis shirt or whatever. Like, oops.
Okay. Yeah, and then Harriman is just because General Hammond, Don Davis was saying Airman, but it sounded like Harriman at some point. So he's like, you
just make that name.
Harriman, yeah. And so that's how I got.
That's how I got the
stuck
name.
with that name.
That's funny.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It is interesting. That's one of the nice things about Stargate is some of these secondary characters take on a life of their own, like him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of felt bad for him, didn't you? I mean, he hasn't been around in the last few episodes. He shows up and suddenly the gate won't work.
Yeah. You broke it.
Yeah, you broke it.
But he finds like the geographical disturbance like super fast.
Yeah.
And I noticed that the Air Force's maps of Russian were all in like the Cyrillic alphabet with like the Russian city names on it.
You mean yours aren't? Oh.
No, mine are in English because I'm an American.
He hacked into their system.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's kind of like, if you use Google Maps in a different region, if it's set, you've got the setting, it will use the language of the region. So.
Oh, really?
It's really annoying if you're in that region and don't speak that language and suddenly your map is giving it to another language.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, so they have to go over to Russia because they find out, the Stargate turned on yesterday and it hasn't turned off since. Oops. Boy, I hate when that happens.
The Russians have been very busy. They've only had the Stargate like going for two months. They've got it in place, hooked it up to the DHD. And I don't know, they've been to at least 7 planets. I think they said, maybe more than that. And on the 7th planet, they found the sample of this water. They sent a sub through, or first they sent a probe through. And the Russians use nuclear powered probes with a 10-year lifespan, which seems pretty cool.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, until it's what's, the radio on it is what's keeping your your Stargate open.
Yep.
And they fixed that so fast. I was wondering if the water aliens had something to do with it, because they're like, well, let's go through. Oh, there's the probe, and then the gate shuts, and then they say, oh, good thing we were able to take that on and deactivate it so quickly. But we don't actually get to see that part.
Nope.
But it does move along pretty fast.
Yeah, but it was interesting that the flight over, because they show them in a Air Force C-130. Actually, it was Army or California Air National Guard C-130 that they flew them over on. So that was pretty wild. That's the Montana Air National Guard has the newer versions of the same plane. So it was just kind of like, oh, cool. But they must have got a special permission from the California Guard. Said, yeah, why don't you send one of your planes up to Vancouver so that we can, pretend that you're in Russia.
Yeah, and it was obviously an American crew too, because we get our another director cameo here where Martin Wood, I think, plays Major Wood, and I think he was one of the guys on the plane who's like, here's your parachutes.
Yep.
Time to jump out.
Well, they had then they had a co-pilot who came back, and he's the one who told them that the runway's all iced up and everything.
Yeah, that may have been him. But yeah, so they hand Teal'c the parachute and says, this is for jumping out of the plane. It will, help you survive the fall. And Teal'c says this seems poorly designed for such a function.
This is not wise. As he falls,
this is not wise.
That was pretty good.
It's like, no, you pull this thing and then it opens and then it protects you from dying when you hit the ground.
When you're watching, you think Daniel's going to be the one that's going to balk, right? And turns out
he kind of shrugs his shoulders a little bit and then goes, yeah.
He's like, I didn't sign up for this, but
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have to laugh, though, and kind of commented on earlier. It was pretty obvious that literally they were standing in the back of a parked C-130 with a big fan pointed at them and a big mattress at the bottom of the ramp. I mean,
yeah, that was
pretty painfully obvious.
Poorly done.
At least they didn't do the thing where it's like, like CG sky or something, and then they just have like the little CG like guy going wee through the sky. Like,
yeah.
Like you would see in TV at the time.
Or use stock footage from like, the army or something like that as they're jumping out.
Yeah. Yeah. And so they go to the base, which is a cool matte painting. It's a digital matte painting of the base. And they get separated, but then they find each other pretty quickly. And I don't know I'll have to look up. I think it was, like a water treatment plant or something like that. But
yep.
It's a pretty convincing, like, Russian base.
It was Harlan's.
Well, we've seen that location before.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, it was Harlan's. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same exact. It was a defunct
power station or something.
Power station. Yeah. So they use that a couple of times because it's such a perfect.
We're gonna see it again in Beneath the Surface.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
And they even say like it was a experimental power station as well, and so maybe that's a nod to the actual location, or I didn't know if that was like a nod to the movie GoldenEye or something either. Although that was like a secret weapons base and stuff, but it has a cool control room and a cool submarine on a hook that they can send through the gate.
Yeah, and they lost their submarine. It didn't come back with them.
They lost both of them. They said they had two of them.
That's
both of them are gone.
Yeah. Why would the Russians have any business buying a Swiss submarine either?
Who said they bought it?
Oh,
no, that's true. That's true.
So my question was, they found the Stargate 2 months ago. They got it operational 47 days ago. And yet they had time to make nuclear-powered drones and find 2 mini subs that just happened to fit through the Stargate. That was crazy.
Yeah, the drones were a little. Oh yeah, our drones are nuclear powered. Yeah, that was a little.
Well, they probably started building them as soon as Mayborn started turning traitor. So I mean, they probably need. He's like, why do we need to build these things? Trust me, you'll want it.
Yeah. It's not a bad idea if you think about it, to leave a long-term drone on a planet to check in from time to time, not having to keep sending a new one through. Think about all the space junk they've got, or wormhole junk that they've got on all these planets. I mean, it's not a bad idea, just except for when you can't close down your wormhole.
Yeah, exactly.
But I did like how, things seem to be going swimmingly, no pun intended.
Oh,
and then
complete pun intended.
And Daniel gets to, we don't really get to explore the ruins, which if the water is alive and it's, cells within the water or something, why would they need ruins unless, they're not native to the planet or they evolved into water over, a period of time or something. But, the water itself is holding them in place and then squishing the submarine and burning out the engines. And
yeah,
Daniel seems a little harsh on Dr. Markov for not being able for her submarine breaking, which I think is a little unfair because, they're not really designed for living water.
Yeah, it is an interesting idea though that this water, of course, they're thinking it's more like it's a radioactive water or something like that because it was warmer than room temperature, and it's like no, it's because it's like a living thing,
right?
It's all kind of one big living thing. I figured they were making it clear that there had been another species that lived there and then it flooded out or something like that, but they didn't quite explore that. Are the beings, the life forms on the water, the people who were flooded out? Did they like transform into the water or?
Right. And
the water can exist as gas too, like like green, like stink gas or something. So we get to see both Mayborn and then Teal'c like do that like 90s like vomit effect where like the tube, like you see him only from the profile, so you don't see the tube that's squirting water onto the ground, and then like the water turns into steam on its own and flies into Teal'c's nose and stuff.
So if he could throw up the water so it could go through the gate by itself, why did all those other people go through the gate to die in the water?
I don't think maybe the water was like that smart about humans.
Well, and there was the that they went through the gate when the fire
with the gas
firing started when people were dying.
Okay.
So.
Oh yeah.
That's true.
So it was more panic.
Time.
It was like the water didn't want to take the risk and just go.
Like standing in front of the gate while everybody projectile vomited at the gate, all at once. While they played the 1812 overture, at the same time.
That was in one of the mock-ups, right? Okay, so the next scene.
Yeah, everybody's
They storyboarded it out. And Brad writes like, no, we're not making that kind of show anymore. And then, so the water eventually crushes the sub, breaks the window, and you're like, oh no, they're all doomed. And then it just turns out that Daniel, Sam, and Dr. Markov get abyssed.
Yeah, exactly.
Which was a great movie, probably like one of my favorite James Cameron movies. And the water goes in, it's like, who are you guys? And they're like, oh, okay, you guys are cool.
Yeah, we're all just misunderstanding each other. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. But we never see the water again.
Yeah, I do like that though, where it's, it was trading hostages when Teal'c, vomited out the alien so it could go back through the Stargate. And then a couple minutes later, the three of them from the sub ended up coming back through the Stargate, not knowing how they got there. Yet another time when they can't remember how they got through the Stargate, just all of a sudden, we were going into the water and all of a sudden we're here completely bone dry. Huh? Funny how that works.
Maybe they're Zatarks.
They could be Zatarks now.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to see the Gould trying to simulate the water planet. Like, I don't know how that would work.
Yeah.
Take water aliens as hosts. Then it becomes just like Ego, the living planet.
Well, I was going to say, wouldn't the water aliens take the Gould as hosts?
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be a little confusing. 3 beings
because then
in
you
one
would have
body.
the water alien would take the Gould as host, and then the Gould/water alien would take a human as host. So it'd really be the water alien controlling the whole thing.
Yeah.
Is that like a dream within a dream within a dream kind of show?
Yeah.
It's Stargate Inception.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Parasite Inception. Yeah.
Yeah, I did like the moment where Daniel got to be Jack O'Neill for a minute.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, I gotta quit hanging out with Jack.
Yeah.
The submarine catches on fire. Daniel's like, fire?
Yeah.
And then it's like, can you fix it? And Dr. Markov looks at him like, I'm Russian. Can I fix a submarine?
Yeah.
Do you even know who you're talking to?
No. The smelling things was kind of a common recurrence in this because they walk into the power station and they smell the chlorine, the remnants of the poison gas.
Yep.
And then and of course it's, do you smell that? And of course, and then it's Jack or the Daniel in the submarine goes, "Do you smell something?" And of course the fire starts. And then Tilk and Jack are walking around the facility and they smell something that was something from the kitchen. And do you smell that? So that was kind of for whatever reason, a recurring theme that they threw in there, smelling things. And of course, every time they smelled something, it led to another important point. So
just follow your nose.
It always knows.
Yeah, so there were a lot of nice touches, like when they first arrive at the base, and some people are shot, some people are just dead, and they don't know what's going on, and then they look at the telemetry from the probe on the other side of the gate, and they just see like drowned people hanging out, and then when they do walk into the kitchen, the ovens are still on, and and it's all weird and stuff. So there were some really cool little touches like that.
Well, like everything was powered down, everything had been shut off for whatever reason. All the computers and everything had been shut off, and then they had to boot them back up. And it wasn't just like you hit the power switch and everything comes back to life,
Yeah. What do you think about the fact that their self-destruct is basically nerve gas?
Very efficient. No.
More efficient than easier to cover up than blowing up a mountain, I think.
Yeah.
Like you'd have to make sure that whatever alien was doing your foothold situation was vulnerable to that specific gas, but maybe they just assume it will kill anything.
Maybe if they had all of the SGC files, they were also doing the certain sound from foothold. They were also, like they implemented all those things
that we talk about.
Right. So they're figuring if the nerve gas doesn't get them, one of these other things will get them.
Yeah. I'm sure, that they'd have their nuke planted underneath the power plant, just like SGC does,
Yeah. I did think it was interesting that they told us there was a faction within Russian government what to do with the Stargate. Whether to just expose the U.S. and then basically like blackmail them or run their own program.
Right.
Yeah. And that's we do see that come back to that a little bit too, when they have to tell some of the other countries about the existence of the Stargate.
And that they knew first.
Yeah. What was the colonel? Wasn't Colonel Sokolov? That she mentions a colonel that was working on the program as well. And I don't think he died. So I don't know if he's the guy who shows up.
He wasn't even in there. He was by name. He wasn't really.
Yeah. I was thinking it was like Sarkov or Sarkolov or something like that.
I'm wondering if he's who we get later on, but maybe not.
The name sounded super familiar, and I thought it was the same guy. I didn't look it up, and then I'm like, "But did he die with all the others?" But she didn't. She never pointed him out, or he didn't come up again.
Yeah.
Sarkolov. Yeah, she was chief science officer, second in command to Colonel Sarkolov. So
wow, there's 30 Russian Stargate personnel on the wiki there. But it looks like, what was his name?
Sarkolov. Yeah, he only shows up in this, or he's only mentioned in this.
Okay. So it's a
because
different
the
one.
only thing on the Stargate wiki is that he was the colonel in the Russian military that was in command of this, and that's it. Oh, it does say he was killed at the process. I missed that.
Okay.
He was the one who died. So
gotcha.
Not the same guy.
Yeah, it's Colonel Chekhov, who's the guy who gets to fly the ship and everything later on.
Yep.
Okay.
But it's Swiss.
Yeah.
So what did he say? It can't do this, but it keeps time really well.
Oh.
Yeah.
The gauge, yeah.
Takes a licking and keeps on ticking.
Yep. And then the pressure's increasing and the gauge must be malfunctioning, and that's when Daniel says,
well, it's Swiss.
But it's Swiss. How could the gauge move?
Yeah. So anything else about this one?
Not really. I like it. I think if you haven't watched it, you should definitely watch it. It's cool. It's smartly written by Robert C. Cooper. And like I mentioned, you get the sort of single cause that has the two paths working towards the resolution in the episode, which is kind of nice. And it resolves a lot more quickly than I thought it did. I thought the business with the submarine getting crushed took a lot longer and then with Mayborn thawing out, I remember that, like, the first time I watched it being more of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like once they have that revelation that the water's alive, they wrap things up pretty quickly. So, that's either good or bad, depending on your point of view.
Well, according to the wiki, coming from the DVD commentaries, there actually was a different ending intended, and they just kind of threw that quick ending in.
Okay.
Because, of course, the question is, what happened to Mayborn?
Mm-hmm.
Where did he go off to? And, of course, he's scammed. He's skedoodled.
Yeah.
He's gone. We'll see him again. He's not dead yet.
And then you want to say, so how do you get out of Siberia so easily? But knowing Mayborn, he probably had an escape plan all along.
Yeah.
Well, is this like the next one is where he ends up like back at running into Jack
and, like,
or
in Colorado, I think.
Well, the next one is First Ones.
Yeah.
Oh, the next
Well,
one.
next one we do see him captured, so he didn't get out of town.
Okay. They nabbed him.
Yeah, I couldn't remember if this is when he becomes like the king of the planet or something like that. If we're not at that point yet.
That says like his last one, right?
Well,
is that?
That's pretty. Between that and the poisonous, whatever it was they ate.
The mind control thing, yeah.
But you realize their relationship is already starting to evolve.
Yep.
Mayborn and
they
Jack.
have that quite. Yeah, the bromance.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's actually worried for Jack dying. Not like, I'm saving myself, water, go into this guy over here, drown him.
Yeah.
He was actually concerned for Jack. So
yeah, exactly.
Nice.
I think he has, he respects Jack and, thinks of him as like a good adversary, like his Moriarty or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the foreign translations for the episode title.
Oh yes,
were a little
we have to have our usual
difficult because the note was that Watergate, the phrase Watergate, a lot of them thought it. The only kind of reference they had was Watergate scandal.
Right.
So it got a little confusing, but the French called it troubled waters.
Bridge over troubled waters.
Italian just called it Watergate.
It's pretty good.
The Spanish called it the Aquatic Gate.
Yep.
Czech called it Watergate. Hungarian was underwater. And then German are going to win. They call it Planet of Water.
Yeah, and the Italian actually went with the English word Watergate.
Right.
It wasn't even like, the Italian version of it.
Yeah, and that was the note. It said that they couldn't translate it because it was the Watergate scandal to them. Whoever translated didn't really get it.
Yeah. That may or may not be where I got the idea to start the summary.
Well, no, but you think about Watergate these days, right?
Yeah, exactly.
If you would like to know more about, the Watergate break-in, you can listen to Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World, episode 7. So one of the very early episodes.
Talks about very early on.
Very early on, yes. So episode 7
there
of
you
Jimmy
go.
Akin's Mysterious World.
Go back into the history of Jimmy Akin's Mysterious World.
The only other thing I noticed in this one was I didn't realize how short Marina Sirtis was or is.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I guess I'd never really put it together, but everybody on this show is really tall. And she's Marina's still taller than me, but
5'3"?
Yeah. My driver's license says 5'4", though. Just saying. Okay. But, the men on the show are all well over 6 feet. And even, a tapping is like 5'9", 5'10".
Yeah, she's fairly tall too.
So I was standing next to each other and I went, never really thought about her being short.
Well, they grow them big up there in Canada, I think.
So on that note, we'd like to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the secrets of Stargate, including Christopher C., Joel C., Laura F., Anna D., and James M. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the secrets of Stargate in all the shows at StarQuest. You can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. Be sure to follow the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Spotify, or many other great podcast apps. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/StarQuestMedia. To find previous episodes of Secrets of Stargate and to send feedback, please visit sqpn.com/Stargate. You can email at us at our address, stargate@sqpn.com, or follow StarQuest on social media at facebook.com/StarQuestMedia or on Twitter at SQPN. We'll be back next time when we'll be discussing The First Ones, the next episode of SG-1. Until then, Lisa Jones, thank you for joining me in sharing the secrets of Stargate.
Thanks, Father Cory.
Victor Lambs, thank you as well.
Thanks, Father Cory. And didn't you guys leave here in a submarine?
And once again, I'm Father Cory Sticha. Thank you for listening to The Secrets of Stargate on StarQuest.
Anyway, I'm sorry, but that just happens to be how I feel about it. What do you think?
This is Dom Bettinelli, CEO of StarQuest. I need to ask for your help, but first, I want to thank you for listening to StarQuest and supporting our mission of exploring the intersection of faith and pop culture. In order to continue that mission and create more new shows, we need to bring on more audio editors, video editors, and production equipment. If you value this show, we need to hear from you now. If you're not yet one of our monthly patrons, please become one. And if you're already a patron, please consider increasing your monthly donation. There are many special patron benefits we'd like to give you, and you can learn about them by going to sqpn.com/give and clicking Become a Patron. Please go to sqpn.com/give today.